Hello and welcome to Writer Rant, author advice in 5 minutes or less, because I have to get back to writing and so do you. So this week I want to talk a little bit about ideas, right? So when you're given a theme, when you're given something to write towards, right? So if you're doing a short story for an anthology, let's say, and you write the first thing that pops into your head, is that really an original idea? Now granted, yes, it might be. You might be lucky. You might be like, oh, hey, yeah, no, here's, like, let's say the theme is, you know, animal-themed apocalypse stories. And you're like, oh, well, I'm going to have some animal go crazy, you know, a bunch of animals go crazy and kill a bunch of people. And I'm like, you know, as someone who puts together anthologies, if I read a story like that with a theme in mind, I'm like, well, that's just the first thing that pops into your head. Like, that doesn't really go anywhere. It's not really interesting. You know, it's essentially it's the obvious idea. And so when you're given these themes, when you're given these topics to write towards, don't go with the first thing that pops into your head, because most of the time it's just the obvious solution, right? And most people who are putting together anthologies are probably going to find the stories that are really an interesting twist on the theme, or really intriguing take on what it is that they're trying to collect stories on. You know, those are the stories that they're going to actually publish. But if it's just a, oh, well, yeah, I guess that's the story, that meets the theme, I mean, at that point you're essentially just meeting the bare minimum requirements. You do word count, you do formatting, make sure, you know, their content guidelines are met, and you do a story that's just kind of there. That story's not going to be accepted. I get it, you know, there's timelines, there's deadlines that you need to meet for these stories, but, you know, take a little bit extra time to kind of dig a little deeper, kind of think, well, what's an alternate meaning? What's something else that could potentially be interpreted for this theme? You know, those are the things that, you know, I would, as someone who's approving these types of stories for anthologies, I would say, hey, you know, that's a really interesting idea. I'm going to put that in my anthology, and I'm not going to put the one that's like, hey, all the dogs went crazy and they attacked everyone. I'm like, really? You got to think of something that only you could think of, right? You got to be different. You got to have that different angle. And the trick is that even if you do kind of something a little more avant-garde, it still has to make sense. So when I'm saying, hey, you got to have original ideas, they got to be original ideas that you can convey in a way that at least has some semblance of matching to the plot, matching to the theme and the idea that these people are going for. Especially when you're trying to do careers to agents and publishers. You know, they're looking for a very specific thing. They're doing very specific genres. So again, you got to kind of keep in mind, hey, these are our limitations, and kind of explore within that. Because sometimes when you have really stringent limitations, so like if you're doing a flash fiction story that's only like 1,000 words, suddenly you're like, okay, every word has to count, but I've still got to be interesting. I've still got to make sense. And so again, you got to maintain the requirements of the story, especially if you're submitting it. But then also, yeah, take it in wild, interesting directions. Like, there's too many stories out there that are just cliche, that are just, they've been done before. And do you really want to be known as a writer who just rehashes old ideas again? I mean, maybe combine two ideas. Sometimes combinations can be really interesting. But again, you got to think of that, and, you know, take a little time. Just sit down and start kind of sketching out ideas, and maybe take two of those ideas and put them together. Who knows? At any rate, don't go with your first instinct. Always kind of dig a little deeper for those more original ideas. So what about you readers? Have you found anything that you're like, oh man, this really is an original idea, or oh hey, yeah, this is a great story because like I've never seen anything like this? Tell us about it below in the comments. And if there's anything that you think you'd want to rant about as a reader or a writer or a viewer, by all means, drop a comment below, and maybe we'll get to it in a future episode of Writer Rant. Thanks for watching this episode of Writer Rant. I'm Benjamin M. Weilert.